MLB The Show 25 comes out in just over 2 weeks, and today we're going to be talking about some of the changes to franchise mode that have been announced over the last couple of days within the feature premieres. I'm happy to say that it feels like the changes to the mode are bigger and more exciting than in recent years, and today we're going to dive deeper into the changes that I do like, what I don't like, and what I think can be improved upon for future games. So the big focus this year for MLB The Show was improving the offseason, in particular free agency, adding a level of immersion and realism that was not there previously. Free agency is a lot deeper, a lot more interactive, and a lot more unpredictable. In the past, it was just clicking buttons, signing players oftentimes to far less money than they would be getting in real life, and generally small market teams spending way more than they normally would, especially compared to the big market teams. The free agency logic makes a lot more sense. So let's go through the new front office experience that has been added to the game, what it's going to look like going through free agency. So as you go through the offseason and start offering contracts, you'll notice that you have 3 priority slots to where you can put players in, and then from there you can offer them years and obviously their annual salary. Let's look at the screen here. There's a current motivation to sign, which goes up and down based on when you are offering them, like what the date is in the offseason, and obviously how much money. Does the player match your needs? For example, here with Eugenio Suarez, positional needs, third base, team needs, power. You will be talking with agents, and sometimes they'll be talking to you. In this case of Michael Conforto, the agent is the one who made the initial call, not you clicking on Michael Conforto. So as you go through free agency, eventually the players will choose whether or not they want to accept. And it's a cool little cutscene here where the player says, I'm signing with the Guardians, no hard feelings, etc. You get a look at how much money they would be making and how the player feels about your offer, essentially. Free agency logic is also far better than it was previously, and it's no longer just based on player ratings or their stats. They talked about how the biggest free agents will dictate the market, and them signing will lead to a domino effect of other players, which you often see in real life. A lot of free agents couldn't sign this offseason until Juan Soto. Big markets are going to be able to take precedent. They'll be able to offer more money, and they'll be able to have more influence on the players. Along with that, they are focused on finding a good fit. For example, if there's a player on your free agency board who plays at the same position and would block them from playing time, they'll be less motivated in signing with you. You're going to have to use your resources wisely in a week-by-week basis. Who's worth your time? Who do you think you have a chance of getting? You have to be very strategic with how you utilize your offers, and again, as I said earlier, when you do them. Players are going to be looking for different amounts of money based on where we are in the offseason. If they're the highest rated player at their position, they might want more money. But if it's late in the offseason, they might panic and be willing to take less. There are also certain scenarios like this rival opportunity where you might find out a team's going after a player and you had the chance to swoop in. Or the fog of war system where there's a mystery team in the running. Let's look at Josh Naylor here. The Guardians and Twins are reported interested in him. You're going to offer him a contract, but he's going to end up going to none of those places as the Reds swoop in out of nowhere. I mentioned it earlier, but let's dive a little bit deeper into big market logic. Too often I saw Juan Soto signing with the Pittsburgh Pirates or some other small market team in MLB The Show 24. Well, that's no longer consistently the case. Big market teams are going to have more influence on these higher rated players. They're going to be able to offer more money to these higher rated players. And these players are more likely to be motivated into wanting to come to these places. But again, you have to be smart with how you manage your offers. You offer a player too soon, they might not be interested enough. Offer them too late, they end up going somewhere else. So it's about being wise with how you offer your players, and ultimately not so much a matter of signing someone just to sign someone, but getting the right fit for your roster. As you, the general manager, are focused on acquiring players that fit your team the best, the players are also going to be looking to sign somewhere that fits them. They won't be motivated by just money. Other factors such as team quality, how good the team is. Obviously, certain players are going to want to go to contenders. Are they blocked by another player at a certain position? A 90 overall first baseman is not likely to sign with a team who already has a 95 overall at that spot. Let's go back to the idea of you trying to find the right fit. It's going to be a lot easier to be able to figure out which players in free agency truly help your team because you'll be able to designate based on your positional needs and team needs what type of players you would like to add. You'll be able to go through your needs by positions and then team needs, certain attributes. Say you want to add some big-time power in free agency. You can click that and set your focus to players with higher power ratings. Let's talk a little bit more about dialogue between the players and the interaction that you'll get with them during the free agency process. After you send them an offer, they will generally react based on how they feel about it, and obviously you hope they sign with you. Giddy up, y'all. Zach Gallen is signing with Texas. Let's take a look at what happens when they don't sign with you, however, because there's going to be a lot of scenarios where you lose out on certain players. For Josh Naylor, it's now or never. You have the opportunity to offer him one more contract, or he's going to sign, presumably, with one of the teams here on the list. And this is where you have to make a decision. This is where the immersiveness really comes in, because in prior MLB The Shows, you don't know when a player is going to sign. You kind of have to guess. Now it feels more like a true bidding war, which often happens in real life. So let's say you decide to give Josh Naylor one more offer. You're hoping he chooses to sign with you, but ultimately, he ends up somewhere else. He's going to sign in this scenario with the Cincinnati Reds, and oftentimes he will provide a final message. In this case, it's no hard feelings, but their offer was too good to pass up. I was curious if players are going to react negatively depending on a certain circumstance, and luckily in the feature premiere, they showed an example of this. Let's say you lowball a player such as Lane Thomas. My phone must be malfunctioning. It's showing your offer as a joke. So this is what happens when you offer a player too little money. And if you're not a fit for the player, based on your finances, based on how good the team is, etc., they will not like your offer. They will not be interested in coming. And in this case, Lane Thomas will dunk on you. Let's shift our attention now to player logic, some of the smaller things in the mode that may not look like that big of a deal, but are very important in terms of playing. So in terms of the player logic updates, they talked about how player values are going to be looked differently. Salaries are going to be a lot more accurate, which was a big thing for me. As I mentioned earlier in the video, it felt like too many times last year that star players were not being signed for enough money. So free agency contracts are going to be more realistic. Arbitration values are going to be a lot more realistic. They also said they improved trade logic. Now, it feels like they say this just about every year, so I figured I'm not going to fully buy it. Hopefully they do actually improve trade logic, but I'm not counting on it. And during the feature premiere stream, I kind of got my answer because they put Julio Rodriguez into the trade finder, and sure enough, the very first offer that was included for him includes Gunnar Henderson and others. Why the Orioles would do that, I do not know. So it appears trade logic has not truly been fixed this year, which is kind of unfortunate. Here's another example. Christopher Sanchez and a really good prospect in Justin Crawford for a 72 overall pitcher. He better have A potential, otherwise that would make no sense. So even if trade logic isn't fixed, it does seem like, based on the examples I've seen, that salaries are far more realistic. So that is definitely a big win. Let's talk about some of the other quality of life or smaller changes to the mode, including defensive WAR. This might be a little bit on the nerdy side, but as someone who kind of cares about this, I like that they're including it. So now we can get a better look of how valuable a player is on defense and how much of their WAR is contributed by their hitting. I think they did a great job with some of the smaller quality of life things for the game as well. The graphics and the user interface look really, really clean this year. I get that a lot of people probably don't really care about that, but it looks really nice. You also get to look at storylines around the league involving the game, involving your farm system, which I think is sick. When you click into a player card, you can also get more information, including recent games. That's something that I've wanted added for years, and it's going to help better tell the story of certain players on your team. You can also look at when a player has been drafted based on their player card, which isn't as big of a deal, but is still nice. With Max Fried, for example, I can scroll through some of his starts throughout the year, and as someone who obviously makes franchise content on this game and would love to talk about how certain players are performing within the span of a month or so, this gives me an entirely new talking point to go over with certain guys. Here's Aaron Judge as well. We can scroll through his recent games. We can take a look at the round and year that he has been drafted in. So something small, but something that I really like. That's pretty much going to wrap up this episode. Overall, a lot of fun additions to the mode. Free agency looks way better. The graphics, the interface, storylines across the league you get a better look at. In terms of things I would like to see added, I know people want online franchise back. I think the biggest thing for me is that the draft is very bare bones. They did improve scouting within the last couple of years. I thought those were positive changes, but it still feels very unexciting per se. I feel like they could do a lot more with it, and I think the way that draft prospects develop in this game is very unrealistic. Oftentimes, 18-year-olds are farther along than 23-year-olds, which really should not be the case. Also, down in the description is a link to the Discord server. I have opened up voting for franchise mode today. If you missed the YouTube short I uploaded a couple of days ago, I have narrowed my list down to 10 teams left in the running. So I'm opening up part 1 of the voting today. We're going to narrow it down to about 4 or 5 teams, and then over the weekend on the YouTube community tab will be the final poll, which will help me decide the team I will be using for MLB The Show 25 this year. Hope you guys enjoyed the video. Make sure to leave a like and subscribe to the channel if you are new. Peace out.